Ba-da-da-da, ba-da-ba-ba. Today on the table we have the Fisher 250 TX. This is an early solid state receiver from the boys that bring you all that terrible black plastic crap you see at the thrift store. Speaking of the thrift store, I got this baby for 25 bucks there. It powers on, it tunes, but it's got some issues and we're gonna make it live. So right now the biggest issue with this machine is the selector knob is completely frozen, which theoretically shouldn't be too hard to fix because the knob spans like almost the entire radio in this direction, so it's probably just something bound up in there. Easy peasy. The switches are all crackly and delicious. Of course, it's a classic, it's a staple. Otherwise, everything else seemed to work. All the tune-o-matic stuff was fine. I got sound out of the headphones in both ears, albeit a bit fuzzy because crackly. So I think the goal right now is to basically just get this guy going. I got a little bit of Old English just to see if we can make the veneer not so sad anymore. I got some 3-in-1 oil for said stuck selector just to give it a little bit easier maneuver. And we've got the classic. It's even got the little service tag on it still. Do not destroy this tag. Yeah, it's held up so far. I think I'm gonna just hide it inside the stereo just to keep it safe instead of doing this. All right, let's dig in. Let's begin. I gotta say, this thing is one of the heaviest 30 watt per channel stereos I've ever picked up. This thing's a tank. And look, the future is now. I've got new feet on the way. I've got some new bulbs, but those aren't gonna get here for another week or two. So I figured I'd just fix what I can for now and then just tinker away at it later on. In the pictures I looked at it just before I tore this down, this thing is very similar to an old tube chassis just because that's what Fisher was known for at the time. So, I mean, you can see it's got this separate silver block with all the components on it, and it's got like a heat shield thing almost, so it'll be interesting to see this thing actually in the flesh. Let's go through the front. Aha, it does. All right, easy enough. Come on to play, come on out. Ooh. Yeah, so what I was seeing is these chassis are sort of, I guess, like the Marantz deal where it's probably an option because, yeah, that, ooh, extra crispy. That wood case is just literally around a steel chassis. That's kind of neat. Well, I think before we dig into the stereo, let's get some varnish on this here chassis because it looks like it's never had any love in its life. Now, let's clean this little metal grate off with just good old water. I have a feeling this thing's gonna come out really nice purely because it's just dirty. Like this thing, that's super straight. There's no blemishes really on the receiver. I think this thing is just well loved, you know? So I think it's gonna come out cherry. Ooh, I'm sure somebody's gonna tell me I'm doing this wrong, but you know what? You're not me, so eat my bunghole. Yeah, baby. Ah, that looks pretty good. Let it, you know, soak up for a little bit, but that's pretty shiny. All right, I'm gonna let this vibe over in the corner. All right, let's move on to the main event, the main squeeze. All right, this should be pretty straightforward. Ooh, maybe. Oh, I love it when that happens. Yes. Any designer that does that is my hero. Risk of electrical shock, do not open. Or too late. I thought those are rusty, but they're just brown. That's weird. All right. Oh, come on. There it goes. Ooh. Yeah, it's got all the original caps and everything intact, which is to be expected. I didn't see anybody had ever been in this thing, but I think we're just gonna send it as is. I don't see anything that's too spooky yet. Like I said, this is the part where it felt very tube amplifier-ish because it's got this, like, just all kinds of shielding around it, and I don't really see that on more modern 70s stereos. Yeah, there we go. Oh, all right. Look at this thing. Like, it's just beautiful. So this is the one that's bound up right now. No, but otherwise this thing is very clean inside. The top side is pretty dusty, but you know, that's whatever. That's easy to clean. So we'll get to it. Let's start spraying bubbas. So this is our naughty friend here. I think this is our first step to tackle. just gonna get a pair of pliers and be very gentle and try to shake it loose maybe, while the camera decides it doesn't want to focus on it. Seems like this end wants to move. It's totally jammed up here, it looks like. I think whatever they used to build this got all gummed up because it's just super hard to move. Okay, so I've sort of been playing with it. I sprayed a little bit of cleaner in there and it's sort of loose. Like I can turn it a little easier, but I think this whole assembly just needs to come apart. So I've actually just, without taking it apart, gotten it to a point where it moves pretty good now. Basically just set it upright and drip some of the oil stuff in here and bada boom. I mean, it's still a little stiff, but I think the more I work it, the more it's gonna work. So my next step is just spray a bunch of deoxit. Whee! This is the fun part.
Get all the contacts nice and clean.
This is the part I always cut out of the video just because it's so slow and tedious. Turn knob back and forth, turn knob back and push button, in and out. Push button, in and out. Push button, in and out. All right, she has been contact cleaned. So I think we're at the point now where we start putting it back together and cleaning it. Oh, this guy could use a little cleaning, so watch this magic trick. And I actually didn't clean up that great, but it's the bottom, who cares, it's going back on. All right, easy enough. Man, this is awesome. Like, if you've watched the video I did on the Hitachi and the realistic stereos, it was a total pain in the ass to get into those pots and switches to clean them, but this one, no siree. It's like they actually had the serviceman in mind. Yoink. You gotta say yoink when you put them back in. That's a trade secret they don't teach you in these new electrical engineering classes. I learned it from the best, okay? You go yoink and it goes right back in every time. So now we get to move on to cleaning the top, which is gonna be spooky scary, and then we're gonna move on to clean the face, which should be not too bad because it's just polishing knobs. I mean, who hasn't polished their knob before? We're just gonna give it a rub down. You know what, if you wanna watch some guy do a beautiful, perfect restoration, then you're in the wrong place. Oh, that's a little rubber strip, that's interesting. Didn't clean up too bad. The paper towel didn't hold up. Look at that baby. All right, let's give you a little hometown rub down. Power supplies love having dust all over them. So it's not the most beautiful, immaculate cleaning job in the world, but for now it's okay because this thing's coming apart in 2 weeks anyways for new bulbs. So you know what? It'll run. It'll also bump the tripod with the chair. All right, let's get this bad mamma jamma back together. Check out all the goodies down below. Healthy. All right, well that's back together. Not looking too bad. There's a little bit of guff right here. That shouldn't be too hard, but yeah, there we go. This thing spooks me. There's all these little fragile wires, so we're gonna be very ginger cleaning that. I'm sure by this point a lot of you question my stereo restoration skills purely because I kind of bull in a china shop my way through these, but there's 2 steps to these restorations I do. There's the on-camera stuff, which is, you know, just this general cleaning, throw some deoxit in it, and then, you know, hope for the best. And then there's what I do off-camera, which is all the boring stuff, like all the deep cleaning with Q-tips and, you know, nobody wants to watch that. People just want to see it look slightly shinier and look at it play some tunes, so that's who I'm catering to. Things held up really good. I mean, all things considered, you know. All right, let's get to the front, shall we? I'm gonna try to untie this, and I'm just gonna hide it between this and the wood chassis. Just because I don't want it to get damaged any more than it is. Even the knots from back in the day were built better. It's like very Silverface era, but it's got this little like touch of wood. Whoever owned this clearly cared about it. And as will I. Oh, this is boring. We'll jump ahead to when it's all done. Told you this is the boring part. I've been at it for like 15, 20 minutes. And I'm only onto the 4th knob. Gonna do this Ashen style. It's got the green on it. That means it's good. Well, there she is. She's all polished and spick and span. This thing cleaned up superbly. I mean, there's still a little bit of detail I need to fill in later on, but hot damn. Look how beautiful this top case came out. This whole thing is just superb. It really does deserve a later deep clean. Like it deserves it. It deserves. Comes the money shot. There we go. Oh yeah. Look at that. Look at it glisten. It's beautiful. I'm gonna button it up and we'll get some speakers hooked to it. How about that? And after dealing with the world's worst style speaker terminals, we're ready to go. All right. Today's speakers are brought to you by these awful Walmart speakers I bought when I was a kid because I thought speakers were cool and they were cheap. So if anything goes wrong, oh no, not my cheap Walmart speakers. Anyways, we're gonna plug it in, we're gonna set the microphone to stereo, and we're gonna see what's gonna happen. We got power. Okay, main speakers on. FM muting off. Tape monitor off. Got no sound. Well, let me play around with it for a little bit and we'll see what happens. Oh, well, we got sound out of the headphones, but the speakers don't want to put them out. Maybe I wired the speakers in wrong.
Start at just $95.
So the Walmart speakers were duds.
Want to try
I was
them on at
freaking
home
out. I'm
first?
like, why isn't this
Just
working?
text Warby
I plugged
to
this speaker and it fires
64,000.
right up.
You can try out 5
Alright,
pairs
well,
for
back to
5
what we were
days
doing.
free.
9. You should never be.
This thing sounds super warm. I don't think it has stereo FM.
One. Our passenger
But-
steady was
Responded to a call of shots being
Man,
fired.
this thing sounds awesome. It's tuning great too. I mean, all right, copyright. Like I'm not even, you know, close to any radio stations, and I don't have an antenna hooked up, and that thing's almost pinned. All right, well that's awesome. Let's go through the. This is still a little crackly, but that's all it needs is a workout. Let's try the.
Here, Wild 1029.
God, that's so cool. So you can just.
Then we skirt off it.
And then back to your main dial. Alright, shut up, country. Well, let's hook some actual music I can play around with that won't give me a copyright strike, and let's see how it sounds. Alright, my own band won't sue me, so enjoy my own band while I mess with the dials. I'm honestly super blown away by how this sounds. Purely because I guess my skepticism comes from it being an early solid state amp, but I mean it's the Fisher, so all the stuff they were putting out back then was just insane, and this is the first time I've ever been able to actually own one. Albeit it's a solid state and not a proper tube amp, but hot damn does that, I love how that sounds. I think I'm gonna throw this in my bedroom setup. It also has a reverb loop, quote unquote, but I'm sure I could run my EQ through it if I wanted to. No, I'm incredibly impressed that this thing, you know, just fired right up basically after a cleaning. Still needs more cleaning, as you can hear with the volume knobs, and there's a little bit of scratchiness, but it'll either go away in time or I just pop it back open, you know. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed cleaning up this sad little Fisher. And hopefully once I get the new bulbs in, I ordered a nice set of LED bulbs and I got some feet for it. Hopefully it'll just putt right along still, and maybe in the future it'll be a good candidate for a recap or, you know, whatever else the future holds with it. Okay, thank you for watching. Bye-bye. Shh, don't tell nobody, okay? Don't tell nobody. It's the brown couch. hiding. It's Blue Couch now. Shh.